This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer here, along with the one, the only, Brandon Swanson.
Hey.
And we are back for another edition of the Primetime Podcast right here on Most Valuable Podcast. One-stop shop. We're talking college football, college basketball, and actually the last 2 weeks, Brandon, last week was our college football. We got that out of the way with our NFL big board. Today we go back to the hard court and we dribble the basketballs around a little bit. We talk about the baskets and the balls, and we're talking about the NBA big board. It's our NBA big board first 25 prospects. You're looking at me funny though.
Yeah. I am. I'm still trying to comprehend what you just said a couple of moments ago.
You know, sometimes I say stuff that it's just how it comes out of the mouth. It's just how it comes out.
It's just that it came out, actually.
Sometimes it does that. But if you are new to the channel, a little bit of housekeeping for you. First off, if you want to support what we do, check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Number 2, you want to go to mostvaluablepodcast.com. That's where we put everything each and every day so you guys can get it, whether it's on the audio side, whether it's on the video side, it's all there at mostvaluablepodcast.com. Number 2, you want an MVP t-shirt. That link is also down below in the description. And last but not least, if you can go on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, give the Primetime Podcast a 5-star rating. It would mean the world to us. But Brandon, it's our NFL big board. How we do it.
It's the
our
NBA.
NBA big board. At this point for me, I'm in like 2 different worlds. To where this week I've got the NBA big board with us. On Wednesday night, Mark and I are doing our NFL mock draft. And then on Saturday, I have an NBA mock draft with the fast break. So my brain is completely... And then I have my full 7-round NFL mock draft as well.
Which, seriously, God bless you for that.
I am 6 rounds into it right now, and it comes out next Tuesday. And my brain is fried whenever I think about it.
I don't know if I'd have the patience to get through 1 round.
GMs have tough jobs. I'll tell you that they have really tough jobs because I'm in the 7th round. And
well,
my brain's fried.
I'm okay with them having a tough job when they're getting paid a couple of million a year.
Yeah,
I'd be fine to have that tough job.
And I'm doing all the comp and all the comp picks too, so it's not just straight 32. But we're not doing NFL today. We're doing NBA. How it works. We have 25 players. We're gonna start at the bottom, move on to the top in 3 segments. The first little section will start off with 16 through 25. Brandon. Starting at 25, who is your 16 through 25 on your NBA big board?
Well, starting from the bottom and going up, at 25, we got Jalen Brunson, point guard from Villanova, a newcomer to my big board. At 24, I've got Raleigh Elkins, the guard/forward from Arizona. At 23, I've got Kyrie Thomas, the shooting guard from Creighton. At 22, Aaron Holiday, another new guy in here, point guard from UCLA. At 21, Chandler Hutchison, the forward from Boise State. At 20, Anthony Simmons, guard out of high school. At 19, Zanan Musa, guard/forward international. 18, Mitchell Robinson, center out of high school. At 17, Daniel Gafford, center from Arkansas. And 16, Troy Brown, guard/forward from Oregon.
Well, and moving right into my top 25, it's funny because you left off with him at 16. He starts mine at 25. Troy Brown, the forward from the Oregon Ducks. Then at number 24, this is a player that on, the 8th would have been yesterday, which would have been Sunday. I got a tweet because Mike 2K tweeted at me and Most Valuable Pod saying, put some respect on the name of this next player because he's now the Wooden Award Player of the Year, Jalen Brunson from Villanova. Then at number 23, Aaron Holiday, guard from UCLA. Number 22, high schooler, the guard, Anthony Simmons. Number 21, the forward from Missouri, Jontay Porter. Number 20, Gary Trent Jr., guard from Duke. Mitchell Robinson, the center from high school. He is at 19. Kyrie Thomas at 18, the guard from Creighton. Number 17, Daniel Gafford, the center from Arkansas. And then at 16, Zanan Musa, the forward from overseas, the international prospect. And Brandon, the first one I want to talk about is the one that Mike 2K was talking about, to put some respect on that name because he now joins that club, the same club that Buddy Hield now is in, the upperclassman to win that Wooden Award just Wooden Award. I was going to say Wooden Award Classic, but that wouldn't have made sense. Just the Wooden Award. What are you thinking with Jalen Brunson? You had him at 25, I had him at 24. What were you thinking when you put him at 25?
Well, what I was thinking when I put him at 25 is that, I think that some people will say 25. I mean, you're putting him at 25, and then that means you're assuming that he's going to be going in, that first round, and you're saying that he's going to be one of the best players, that he's one of the best top 25 players. Where I think that you could make an argument that Jalen Brunson is, especially when you look at how important he is to Villanova and how important he's been to the run that Villanova's had the last couple of years, and part of 2 championship teams with the Villanova Wildcats. So you look at him and you look at his stats. 19.1 points per game. He is shooting 42% from 3. He's averaging almost 5 rebounds, assists per game. And then you look at, what his size and his athleticism are. Now, he's going to get a knock for having average size and average athleticism. But I think if you look at him and some of the things that he's able to do for his team, with some of the moves that he has around the basket, I think are very impressive. Being able to kind of do that fake, then that jump back, and just I'd be able to just pop that shot, and he's almost making it every single time. And I said jump back, step back, sounds a lot better, but there's a lot of really crafty things that come with the game of Jalen Brunson, and it's too hard, I think, to overlook everything that he brings. Yes, he's not going to be your typical guy in the NBA, but what he's going to add is he's going to add depth for a team in their backcourt. He's going to be someone who's going to be able to come into the NBA, be on a team, and I think make a difference for them. Maybe it's not going to be as a starter. Maybe it's going to be as a sixth man. Maybe it is going to be as a guy who's coming off the bench. But as we've seen in college basketball with who they had coming off of the bench for Villanova, I think that when you have a guy like DiVincenzo coming off of the bench like that, you can have the same type of thing in the NBA. And if Jalen Brunson's a guy who could give you something, I mean, the 30 points that DiVincenzo gave you was absolutely outstanding. Now, is Brunson going to do that? Maybe not, but you add in 15 points on a night or 17 points, 5 assists. That's impressive. I think that's why Jalen Brunson, he's got too many really good things about him. And I understand, again, that there's enough things going against him, but he's too smart, and I think he's too good of a player and too hard of a fighter to not work those things out, especially after seeing what he came through to be the player that he is today. Watching on the State Farm's College Game Day, where they showed the clip and the segment about him and his dad, who was also in the NBA, Rick Brunson. He went to
cut by the 76ers.
But he also went to he was on like 9 teams in 9 years, something like that. But he was still there. He still knows. He still had a taste of it to be able to talk to his son. But then him working with his son and just pushed him all the time. Jalen Brunson does not have a quit mentality. He's going to have a I can do it and I will do it mentality, which is why I think I have him here at 25 and why I think he'll make it in the NBA.
Well, and that's why for me he's in my big board. And it's kind of the same thing what you were saying, where you're like, oh, well, big board, you're saying he's the 24th best prospect in this draft. And for me, yes, that's true. For me, I have him at 24, you have him at 25. However, how I really think it's going to play out, because the way a big board goes is it's not just straight, okay, these are the best prospects. Some teams throw need into it as well. For example, like Golden State, they're not going to draft a point guard. They're not going to draft like the next Steph Curry because they already have Steph Curry there. But for Brunson, I feel like anything after 20 in the NBA draft, he is going to be a great pick for a team, because I kind of think it almost as the same thing, like him going to the NBA, he can almost be what Josh Hart has been in the NBA. I know another Villanova guy, but I mean, like you look at, for me 24, for you 25, it means he's going to a Portland or an LA. LA, they're starting to get their core together. He can be added into that bench player like you were talking about, but like I could see him going to like a Golden State, a San Antonio, a Houston, like that kind of a team. Like a team where it's like, okay, we don't need you to be a starter. We want you for what he's going to bring. Yes, he's got the skills, but the thing I love the most is that I don't quit mentality with that experience being that junior coming out. He's not going to be like your one and doneer at the top. He's that guy who I have experience. I'm going to come out with a little bit more of a level head and be able to use that. And whatever role you want me to play, I'm going to play that role and I'm going to work towards that role. And that kind of plays into that experience. Plus, like you were saying, that I don't quit mentality when it comes to Jalen Brunson.
And Jalen Brunson's also a great teammate. I mean, you can watch him in any game, even when he's on the bench, and he's kind of he's pointing out things. He's telling guys, different things. He's cheering guys on from the bench. And Jay Wright said that he is the smartest guy in the program, even smarter than the coach.
Look at the game against Michigan. He only played 28 because of the 4 fouls he had, but he was still engaged in the game from the bench.
Because he's a great teammate.
Yeah.
And I think that for Jay Wright to make the comment and the statement that he is that Jalen Brunson is the smartest player and smartest person in the organization, and that includes the head coach. If a guy like Jay Wright, if a head coach as classy as basketball smart head coach like Jay Wright is saying that about a guy, I find it hard to believe that guy is not going to continue to succeed wherever he goes. Now, again, is he going to be that stud player? Is he going to be that DeAndre Ayton and go and be the top player on your team? No, that's just not going to happen. That's not the type of player he is. But he's going to be able to be a fit for an NBA team, and I think fit that role very well. He's got too many really good skills. He's a great 3-point shooter. I think he's really, solid down around the basket with his craftiness. So it's those things that's going to make Brunson a great, I do believe, bench player in the NBA. Could he be a starter? Maybe. But I think he's probably going to be more well-suited for a bench player that's going to be a very involved bench player for an NBA team.
Now, the next guy I want to move into, kind of moving away from Brunson a little bit, is another guy who doesn't have that experience, but he's a guy to me that the only reason he's in my big board and in this top 25 is because of the injury that his brother had happened to him this year, and that's Jontay Porter. For me, had him at number 21. He's a guy to me that was the beginning of the season. No one was talking about Jontay Porter. Everyone was talking about MPJ, Michael Porter Jr., what's going on here. Like, I know you had the brother-dad connection there with Mizzou, but he's a guy this year to me that, like, he's not going to be a scorer for what you want. Like, he's only averaging about 10 points per game for Mizzou this year, but he's a guy that can go out there, and if he works on his 3-point shooting a little bit, he's a guy that can hit from beyond, like a big guy who can hit from beyond the arc, play defense down low, and grab you boards, as he had about 7 boards this year for the Tigers in 2017-2018.
I think one of the things for me with Jontay Porter that you look at is, and he's going to have time to do it, only being 18, is it's developing his body.
Yeah.
And it's getting bigger.
Right,
it's adding more muscle.
6'11", 240.
And again, I think that when I say getting bigger, of course, that is bulking up and everything like that. But I kind of have that same type of thing for guys even higher in this draft. But that is okay. You're 18 years old. You're the youngest guy that I think we're going to talk about today. So there's a lot of time with that. But your skills and the skills that Porter has, I think mirrors some of his older brothers. Again, he's a quality passer, a good rebounder. I think he has the opportunity and the skills to be a very solid playmaker as well. So there's a lot of things that go into Jontay Porter that a lot of people would also say they see in the elder Porter. So it'll be interesting to see what we end up getting and how these two will go in this draft, him and, again, his older brother.
Well, and the thing that I look to, and I'm trying to figure out exactly if the weight changed a little bit, but the thing that I kind of think about when I go to that is kind of like a Joel Embiid at the next level where, yeah, you might be sitting there going, but guys, he's 6'11", 240. You don't want him gaining any more weight, but look at like Joel. Joel still 7 foot 250, exactly what he was coming in. But you look at pictures of him when he came in from Kansas and pictures of him now, looks like a grown man out there. And that's the one thing that Porter's going to do. And that's why, to me, I have him in this range of our big board because he's not a guy that's going to come in and dominate at the next level right away. Like you brought up, I can't remember if you just brought him up for Porter or if you brought him up for Jalen Brunson, but like a DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton can step into the league and dominate from day one. Marvin Bagley might be able to come in, dominate from day one, or hold his own from day one. Jontay Porter's a guy who's going to come in, have to not figure out how my skill set works, but all right, until I bulk up, while I'm bulking up, how am I going to take my skills and be effective at the next level in the NBA? It might take him a year or two, though, to get that body and get it comfortably to where he's out there using his traits. Because the whole thing with rebounding is you got to be a little bit physical out there. You got to go for the rebound. You can't lackadaisically go for that rebound. You have to go to it. And if you don't have the strong body, people are just going to push you all over. I know it's not 90s basketball, but people are still going to push you all over trying to box you out for those rebounds.
I would say the same thing offensively is that when you're trying to fight for the basketball,
because when you're going up for it,
you want to be a big guy, not even necessarily when you're going up for it, but if you're trying to get position on another guy down low, and if they're stronger than you, if you're the same height but they're stronger than you, they're going to win that fight. So that's very important as well on the offensive side of things. But again, he's 18 years old. He's got plenty of time to be able to grow, to be able to add muscle and stuff like that. And again, it's not like you said, it's not necessarily that you want him to get bigger. Like he's already huge, but
just want him to get some muscle mass.
Exactly, and that is going to come with time and just getting into the weight room and doing everything that you need to do there. But I think that it's interesting that you bring him up on yours because he's nowhere near mine. But I do believe that he could have some skills, and he does have them there to be able to produce at the next level.
Well, I just find it interesting, and this is kind of away from what he brings to the table. And the thing I find so interesting about him is that I don't think I'm talking about him on my big board if Michael Porter Jr. never gets injured. If Michael Porter Jr. plays every single game this year, I'm not talking about Jontay Porter the same way I am today, which I know on one side for Michael Porter Jr., the injury has been like, oh, dear God, I'm no longer the number one prospect in the draft like many thought I would be coming into the year. But for Little Porter, the same age, Jontay, it's been I don't have a shadow over me anymore. And now guys like us can see what he brings to the table. Last guy I want to bring up is one that's on your big board. We're kind of trading here. Jontay was on mine, not on yours. This guy was on mine last time. He's not now. He's on yours. Tell me why you have, and he's the same place I had Jontay Porter. Tell me why you got Chandler Hutchison, forward from Boise State at 21.
Well, from Boise State, Chandler Hutchison, I just completely screwed up how I wanted to start that off. But what he was able to do is he actually controlled the basketball, and he was in on the scoring, I think, for a third of their possessions. So he was a huge focal point for Boise State. He's got a well-rounded game, attacks the rim on straight line drives, off the ball threat, and attacks the defense. Those are all things that you want to be able to see in a scorer. Those are all things that you want to be able to see in a guy who's going to be able to go out there, not just score, but also play some defense as well. He can play the wing or the 4 position down low, so those are really good things to have. So you have someone who is, I think, who's got really good ability, and I'm trying to think of the fucking word. Can't think of it. Doesn't necessarily have playmaking off the dribble, so he's not like your Trae Young. But again, all those things that I mentioned, I think all things that are going to be or make for a successful player at the next level. I'm still trying to think of that dang word. It's not.
It'll come to you.
It's
don't
not.
worry. Maybe it'll come to you when I'm talking. Usually that's what happens to me.
No, I'm trying. Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to think of it. But go ahead, Ricky.
Because
say what you have to say. Those are the thoughts I have on Chandler Hutchison.
Here's my biggest problem with Hutchison, and it kind of goes to almost the same thing we were talking about with Jontay, where I'm sitting here going, like you said, oh, he can play the 3 or the 4, his versatility.
That's it.
Is that the word? Is that the one you're looking for? But to me, at the next level, I don't know if I see that versatility. And the reason why is, like a guy like Jontay that we talked about, he's 6'11". With a guy who's 6'7", just under 200 pounds, I think at the next level, Hutchison's going to be a guy to where it's like, okay, in small ball lineups, he can play the 4. In regular lineups, he's going to be a 3 at the next level, to where I feel like because of his size being 6'11", and 197, instead of like if he was more of a Jontay, like that 250, 6'11" size, then he would be more slotted at the 4. I think he's going to be more at the small forward position, the 3, maybe out on the wing. He's going to be a guy that can still drive, get to the line. He'll shoot from 3. Like you said, doesn't have the playmaking, but could be a spot-up shooter on the outside from the 3 as well. But he's still going to do rebounding, assists, and points for you from the 3 spot, and like I said, maybe the 4 in small ball lineups.
I mean, a guy who had 20 points per game, about 8 rebounds per game. I mean, that's someone that you want to be able to have on your team if he's going to be able to keep that up. That's a playmaker right there. And again, maybe not so much off the dribble, but that's something that you could improve. That's something that you could get better at. But again, when you're talking about a guy who's got a well-rounded game, that's good. That's also what you want to look for, because you don't just want a shooter. I mean, that's many times when we've talked about Trae Young. A lot of people, some knocks with him is that he is just a shooter, and if it's not going for him that day, well then get him off the floor, because it's not going to work for you. But that's some people.
Yeah.
But I think that, again, it's where if you have everything, if you can drive, if you can shoot, if you can play defense, if you can attack the defense and find holes in the defense, if you have good vision on the court, those are all things that are going to really make an NBA player. And if you have that now and you continue to develop it then, you have yourself a guy who, again, not a huge name, you're not at the top, but you can become a big name. You don't need to be in the top 5 picks to be able to act like a top 5 player when you come to the NBA. If you're a starter for your team and you're able to add to your team's success and be a reason why they win, that's all that matters. It's all a team cares for. They don't care then when they took you in the draft. I think that's a big point too. Is that we look at these DeAndre Aytons and everybody like that. Is DeAndre Ayton most likely going to pan out and be one of the best players? Yeah, probably, but you never know, and that's why. And I always talk about that too. I didn't think Ben Simmons was going to turn out for jack crap, but he has turned out to be a really, really good player. So you never know. But I do think that Hutchison is a solid pick for any NBA team.
Well, and two of the things that I was kind of thinking about as you were talking there was, number one, like when it comes to Hutchison, he's not going to be a guy that, like when you were saying the Trae Young stuff, the thing that I thought about was he's not going to be that guy that, okay, go stand in the corner and we'll kick it out to you for a 3. He's going to be a guy that's active, can drive in, can get fouled, go to the line. That was one of the positives on his draft profile, is that it's not his free throw percentage, it's his free throw rate. And he was averaging just above 7 attempts from the line at Boise State this year, which plays into why you have 20 points per game, especially when you're making 5 of 7 of those for a 72. Might want to bump that up a bit, but hey, I'm going to be a nitpicker there. But the second thing I thought about is, like you said, where we talk about the guys at the top, like, oh, these can't miss guys, but there have been guys that have, and I'm going to use 2 that are kind of like really up there, like not your typical ones that have kind of broadened out and have been like stars in the NBA. You look at Jimmy Butler, who was 30th overall. You look at Draymond Green, who's a guy who He went in the second round, went 35, and he's actually a guy. I don't know if you've actually watched the video of this. I know that we have on the Fast Break where he did an interview once, and they asked him, do you know every player drafted before you? And he can name all 34 players in order that were drafted before
That sounds
him.
like Draymond Green. I would expect nothing less.
Because he's one of those guys that's like, all these 34 went above me. I'm going to prove you wrong while I'm better than every single one of them.
But I think what's important and what kind of speaks to the point that I brought up was that Draymond Green I think is crucial to the success of the Warriors. If they didn't have him, they'd be a different team.
Exactly.
And they would have been for years in the past. So it doesn't necessarily matter where you go. We talk so much about, oh, this one's going to be 1, or who gives a crap? If you're 1 or if you're 4, I mean, who cares? If you're 17 or if you're, 29, it doesn't matter.
And especially with these guys down here at the bottom of our big board, it's them getting fit on a team that works for them. Who knows? Maybe one of these guys could go to I know they're outside the top 25, but they could go to a Golden State. They could go to a Minnesota, a Oklahoma City Thunder, a San Antonio Spurs team, a team that's in the playoff hunt, and they can help that team. That's kind of what these guys are looking for. They're not going to a starving franchise that is at the top. But I want to know what you guys think. Let us know down below. What do you think of our 16 through 25? Let us know who you guys would have in this bracket.